Greetings, Sight. Welcome to another edition of Revolutionary Voodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. I'm joined by the beloved Nylan, the Traituer.
Always a blessing. Welcome. Glad to be here. You guys come there. We got a lot of things that we want to discuss today. Glad to be back here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And
welcome all y'all. Welcome Kiona. Thank you so much for assisting me with my chat room. I appreciate you. All is truly and indeed a blessing. Greetings and salutations. Please be patient while Blog Talk Radio fully loads. And Kiona, if there's anything going on with the technology, with the chat, with the buffering, please just let me know. And I'll do my best to adjust that on my end. Greetings and salutations, divine, all blessed, peace and love, joy and prosperity, elevation, relevation, and manifestation. You know, you are now sitting live with another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes, here on both YouTube Live / Voodoo Thai and YouTube. Are you taping or are you live?
And Facebook Live with under Nylan the Traituer / Facebook.com / J Nylan.
And of course, my Blog Talk Radio URL is blogtalkradio.com / the-divine-prince. I do invite you to input your questions, comments, requests in all capital letters in the chat box so that both I and Kiona, who is assisting me, can see them. And I'll respond directly to your questions, comments, or requests that are typed in all capital letters. We're probably going to have to remind people through the show about that so that I can see them from the screen from a distance. And of course, Kiona will be assisting with that. I have a show topic today. We have a subject matter today, and that is the nature of spirit. I just want to talk about the nature of spirit, and I invite your active participation. That's one of the reasons that I've brought one of my priests into the show when I brought help into the show. I've told you all time and time again, I'm not here to hear the sound of my voice. I'm not here to just say something, you know, because I have some ego need that needs to be fulfilled. I'm here to teach, repair, share, educate, illuminate, and move people forward into action and activity as it relates to revolutionary hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. And that indeed speaks to the lineage, the bloodline of all African Americans who have ancestral roots in this land, going back into antebellum slavery, going back into the beginnings and the foundations, if you will, of the building of this nation. We have a bloodline root to this practice, to this culture, to this tradition. If Candomblé belongs to Brazil, if Santeria belongs to Cuba, Lacomi, then indeed Voodoo, Hoodoo belongs to the African here in America, with the bloodline lineage and the education and knowledge and awareness of these traditions. This is our salvation. If you haven't heard me say that before, Voodoo is our salvation. At the end of the day, we've tried everything. We've been everything. And we continue to evolve these different groups and organizations and mindsets and religions that borrow back to the very source that brought us oppression, that brought us colonization, that brought us bondage. So our freedom is in this voodoo, authentically. We don't need the comic book, Hollywood, dime store magical book to teach us about what voodoo is. Yet many of you are absorbing that information and believe it to be founded on something. Today we acknowledge the spirit of White Cloth. Today we acknowledge Dan and Dambala and all things white. I don't care what you've heard. I don't care what you've read. That's where we are today. And today I want to talk about spirit. So Kiona and Nylan and Al-Yak and whoever our fourth and fifth person is that keeps coming and going, we invite you to be actively involved in the show. Ask your questions, make your comments, verbalize your shade.
Get in your feelings.
Get in your feelings, but be a part of this show.
Yeah.
I'm not going to always continue to apologize for being absent, though I know that Kiona and many of you, sort of have come to expect me to be here at least every day during the week. But be mindful. Voodoo requires work. The work is being done. Filming is being done. Documenting is being done. And we're also a part of much bigger historic projects right now. We're working with Regina King right now in One Night in Miami. I couldn't say that on the show before, but thanks Caballero Casting. Caballero Casting is looking for last minute urgent call. That means if someone doesn't show up to be NOI, Nation of Islam, if someone does not show up to be FOI, Fruits of Islam, MGT, Muslim Girls in Training, for tomorrow's filming, you still might have an opportunity to be a part of One Night in Miami. So if you're local to New Orleans, the surrounding area, you're prepared for possibly a really early call, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow, or maybe a late call in the afternoon. Get with us after the show, and you might still have an opportunity to be a part of the filming of Regina King's One Night in Miami. But I introduced that to say I haven't been here. We both have not been here consistently because we're doing the work. We've discussed making a more concerted effort to be present as regularly and as consistently as we can. And again, we always are grateful for Kiona's help, the High Priestess, Empress April, Alafia. Thank you so much for coming on and into this room, into this sacred space. Grandma used to say, come on in the room, come on children, and come on in the room. Okay, so thank you for coming on into the room. We certainly appreciate you, High Priestess, and all of our viewers and listeners, both in Blog Talk Radio and YouTube Live. I don't want to neglect my Blog Talk Radio audience. If you want to call in and be heard, ask your questions, you have something to say, you want to call me now at area code 845-277-9143. 845-277-9143. That is our live Blog Talk Radio talk line, listen line, so you can listen to the show as well as call in and participate in the show, even on the go by way of Blog Talk Radio. And of course, our viewers and listeners by way of YouTube Live, you can, as Al-Yak Talk has done, and Al-Yak, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. That's why we invite people to use the Blog Talk Radio line. I see your question, as she has done. Type your questions, comments in all capital letters. Thank you for that, Kiona. And then I'll be able to see and respond. Al-Yak asks, is it appropriation for Europeans to come into ATR, Voodoo, as high priests, babas, etc.? Oh, Kayla. Okay, girl, I got you. Okay. You've explained that before. I got you. That's Kayla spelled backwards. Um, yeah, that is very controversial. That is very sensitive. I've spoke to it over the years. I've done the Blog Talk Radio show. Joshua has helped me on many episodes for over 12 years, and we've talked about that. Today, yeah, Nylan. Nylan. Yes, and so yeah, I'm going to answer you. I invite others to sort of get in on this question, on this conversation, either here in chat or by way of our live phone line at 845-277-9143. Do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. It'll raise your hand. It'll let me know that there's a caller in queue, and I'll be able to open your mic and also bring you into this conversation. Anyone who comes to me and my clients, my godchildren, my initiates are well aware. If you're coming to me often for work, particularly ritual work, ceremonial work, and more specifically, ancestral work and divination, and active initiation, you're going to do ancestral work and divination with me. And that requires lineage. Now, some of you aren't familiar with lineage and the importance of lineage as it stands up in ATR traditions. Now, those of you who are officially initiated, Lucomi, Santeria, Condable, you're well aware of lineage. And our Latino, Hispanic, south of the border brothers and sisters and cousins are much more aware of lineage than often the Black community is here in the States. So lineage, there's a certain way I can spell Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Ashe, that will speak specifically to my lineage, where I was initiated, who I was initiated with, what path or tradition. Let me use different words: family, neighborhood. Let's say magically we were all born in Oyo, Nigeria, or Oshogbo, Nigeria. You would then have the liberty of being born into your lineage, your ancestral spirits, and the deities and powers in which your family, and then your extended family, and then your neighborhood, your community, your village, and maybe even your city would acknowledge. That's some of the foundations of lineage. But another way of looking at lineage is bloodline. We have to look at ethnicity. How much Hausa, how much Igbo, how much Yoruba, how much Ebe, how much Fan is in the bloodline. Now, I don't want to give away too much of my practice because it's too many haters already out there trying to copy what I do, trying to figure out what I do. But I'm going to mesh, if you will, for lack of better words, your DNA information, your bloodline, lineages, etc., and better match what lineage in terms of tradition and practice you should then be coming under. So I have European clients. I have a handful of European godchildren who've done DNA. They know exactly how much, and I don't even like to use words like black, white, because those are white racist supremacist terminology that we learned to use in the 20s, the 40s, the 50s. It's in all the books. It's in the school books. It's in the cartoons. It made its way in the culture. And this is black. I haven't met very many people that are black, but I've met people who are African or of African descent, who are of Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, Ewe, Akan, Fan, Bois descent. So I'm going to look at descent. I think people also fear going into, and I don't want to forget that my main topic today is the nature of spirit. because the nature of spirit can traverse genealogy, can traverse lineage, can traverse practice, and even tradition. There's things that we learn from Christianity, that we learn from church, that's very detrimental, that we struggle every day inwardly to break that chain, to break that memory, to break that tie back to that thing. So getting into this lineage is absolutely important because it has everything to do with how you're born, how you're birthed, if you will, in these traditions. And who's doing the birthing? Who are the midwives? Who are the parents? So we have to. And often here in the West, you know, the West is worldwide now. And anywhere there's internet, anywhere there's, you know, Saks Fifth Avenue, Nike products, Sam, you know, that's the West, because we're all now following sort of this Western model. But in the West, there's that thing that I call the shortcut to spirituality. And so therefore we want to read our chakra books and our crystal books and watch a few videos and assume that we understand the nature of spirit. And so sometimes we're testing spirits that are not a part of our lineage, that are not a part of our makeup, that we shouldn't be operating in, are not necessarily friendly long-term to your overall cause, to the overall outcome, manifestation that you might be seeking in any given work. I believe, Kayla, Black people can appropriate, and they do it every day. You hear me refer to the Orisha romance. It's my way of being a little shady, a little catty, you know, of these wannabe witches, these overnight voodoo practitioners, these overnight psychic readers and whatnot. And in the course of that, it's a Western thing. We're mixing all this stuff. It's a gumbo. It's a soup. And I'm going to pick a little bit from here, and I'm going to take a little bit from there, and I'm applying a little bit of that, and completely ignorant to your own power. Because if you understand your lineage, what stands up in you stands up in your family. And that's not always good. Some of us have abusers in our family. Some of us have molesters in our family. Some of us have addictive behaviors in our family, drugs, gambling, you know, anger. You know, anger is in my family. It's an addiction. I have to be very, very conscious of how I control my anger, where my anger is. Am I absorbing somebody else's energy, or is it really mine? Do I really have a position to be angry about? You have to be willing to do those questions. And I digress. So, yes, Kayla, I believe everyone is appropriating voodoo right now to some degree. If they're not authentically approaching these paths, these traditions, these lineages respectfully. You know, we know, generally speaking, there's West African voodoo, there's Haitian voodoo, there's now Louisiana, Mississippi, the voodoo that stands up in the African American presence. But it's not a free for all. There are rules to this. There's an order to this. I also wanted to address today, before I move on to my next question, the importance of the appropriate knowledge as well as setup of a shrine, an altar, ley lines, addressing your chakras. There's an order to that. It's not random. It might appear random to someone who does not have the knowledge. You might look at the picture of the altar, the shrine, and say, that's beautiful. I like the way that looks. That's attractive. I can connect to that. But there's an absolute balance to it. There's a law to it. There's a structure to it. So when people experiment around with it, that's the softest word that I could use, as opposed to someone consciously thinking, I'm about to invoke something, prepare something, bring something forward, manifest something forward without doing this homework. but the absence of elements, the misalignment of elements, not being clear about the grid. Some of you are doing gridding, but you're doing it empathically. You're doing it just on feeling, just on emotion, maybe on the amount of space that you have on that ledge, that table, that windowsill, that manual. But there's an order that has to be adhered to. And the danger of not adhering to that order, which is why my subject today is the nature of spirit, and in parentheses, spirits. Because we say spirit, I feel the spirit. I'm in the spirit. What does that mean? The spirit spoke to me. What does that mean? What does that mean? And is it ancestral? Kayla, going back to ancestral, going back to lineage and appropriation. Is it disembodied? Is it a ghost? Is it a jinn? Is it a demon? And I've said before, demons and jinns can respond to your prayers, can respond to your requests, particularly when there's energy behind it, when there's emotion behind it. You're desperate. You're in need. It's an emergency. You're under great stress. And these spirits will respond to you, particularly if you're ignorant, particularly if you're not covered, particularly if you don't have a defensive line set up. Some of you are setting up grids and shrines and altars and have no defensive mechanisms in place at all. Stick to your ancestors. They won't harm you. Stick to your ancestors. Stick to your light altars, your crystals, your stones, your minerals, your favorite pieces, until you are clear about moving forward in terms of altars, shrines, grids, ritual circles, magic circles. You're crossing lines of witchcraft, of magic, of illusion and delusion, and voodoo and indigenous practice, but without a manual, without a book, without a clear understanding of what's being provoked, what's being invoked, I should say. You don't want to provoke spirit, though there are scenarios where we do indeed provoke spirits to act, but they tend to be petrol. They tend to be hot. They tend to be aggressive in nature, requiring knowledge, skill, in the ability to not only open the doorway and allow these spirits in, but then know how to close them, know how to control them, know how to prevent them from subsequently dominating your life. Thank you, Kiona. Danette, greetings, beloved. Sleepy CCS, thank you all for being present. High Priestess, please come with your questions, comments, requests, jab, shade. I don't care what it is. Just participate in the show. My phone line is open and active at area code 845-277-9143. Area code 845. It's another 800 number. It's another 900 number. But it's 845-277-9143. Do press the number 1 on your telephone keypad. This will alert me that there's a caller in queue, and I will absolutely open your mic and allow you into the conversation. Sleepy, you didn't capitalize your comment, but I'm going to read it out loud anyway because I think it's important. Sleepy CCS says Hoodoo also has been appropriated, and she's absolutely right. It's been greatly appropriated, greatly, and there's so much witchcraft and astrology and other stuff. And I'm not saying that other stuff is not useful. Just don't confuse it with hoodoo. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Don't pretend that it's hoodoo. Many of you have seen me read, have seen me read on air, have seen me read in television shows, have been here to the house and read with me. I use tarot cards. I use crystals. I use singing bowls. We have more than one camera, so I keep shifting my view, y'all. I have all sorts of tools and implements from many world cultures and traditions, but I don't confuse it with voodoo.
Welcome in, guys. Richard and
thank you, Richard.
And Paula.
Yeah, if you're gonna speak up,
Paola,
speak up. So
how you doing? How you doing, Paola?
Greetings.
Welcome into the space.
Greetings. Thank you so much. So yeah, Hoodoo, beloved, has indeed been appropriated as well. And so we must be careful that we are also not appropriating, because in the doing so, they are indeed inviting spirits. They're indeed inviting spirits. And sometimes these spirits show up in your health, in your mental health. They show up in your finances. They show up in the relationships and the dynamics of your jobs and your workspace. They show up in your relationships, all your relationships, love and relationships, partnerships, business relationships, friendships. 90. All of these things invoke spirit and have spirit attached to them. So we must be careful with appropriating any tradition, any practice, any ritual, any tool that we aren't clear about how to use, that we aren't open and willing to be taught, to be instructed. And the asking to be taught, the asking to be instructed is most safest when you're invoking your ancestors and when you're working with crystal, mineral, and stone. Those are the safest, for lack of better words, mediums in terms of drawing, introducing, opening a way for spirit and spirits to enter in. And sometimes they don't attach to you, they're attached to your children. They're attached to people, places, and things around you and in your environment. So let's talk more about spirit today and moving forward. Give me your questions, your comments, and your requests. Kiona, Jinn are shapeshifters. Yes, indeed. And they can go beyond spirit and be physical. Have to take care. It's not a game. You will get hurt if you're not trained. And she's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I've even known people, both black and white, who have the money, who have the wherewithal and the resources to travel to Africa and exotic locales in the world, and have brought back carvings, drums, masks, organic matter that indeed has spirit in it and with it. Our crystals have spirits in them and with them, but they tend to be positive because they're being passed through light. They're being radiated with light. Now, your darker stones, your denser minerals, they indeed have more earth-bound energies attached to them. But in that mineral structure, in that crystalline structure, like our medicine, like our foods, their intent is to heal. The intent is to bring balance. The intent is to bring well-being. And they work well together. Your hematite with your rose quartz, with your amethyst, with your clear quartz, with your mantras and your prayers and your sacred music in the creation of your sacred space. And we create grids, even in where you keep your crystals, even in how you keep your stones. You're automatically setting up a grid, even if you're not consciously aware of that. So that area should be clean. That area might be on a mirror or be on a slab of some sort of stone or gem. It might be on wood, but lacquered, polished. You might have a cloth in place, but you want to create sacred space that invites those things that are positive, peaceful, beneficial, useful, edifying, nurturing, that are going to move you forward even beyond your own blocks. So in that spirit, particularly those lower base earthbound spirits that attach us to food and money and men and women and sex and material possession, the shopper who shops out of mental and emotional and then spiritual need, the person who talks out of mental, emotional, spiritual need. At this lower chakra levels, those chakras from your fourth chakra, really all your 7 chakras, because in our books, we're often talking about 7 chakras. We talk about 7 African powers, but the truth is that the number is much higher and much greater. Many of us are only able to vibrate within those 7. So many authors don't even bother to write about 8th and 9th and 10th and 12th and 24th and 36th octave, which is another way of looking at chakras, octaves. And they just keep it to the basic 7, because many, particularly in the West, are dealing with the first chakra, your animal nature, the thing that just keeps your heart beating and your lungs breathing. You know, the things that we don't really control are sort of involuntary, but the desire for protection, for survival, for meeting your hunger, for meeting your sexual appetite, those are all in your first chakra. Maintaining your physical body, your health, your strength. Your second chakra is now your second and your third chakra. Right in here is your stomach, your navel, and below your navel and above your navel, second and third chakras. Your willpower center, where you get your gut feeling, your gut reaction. So it's the next level up from your animal nature. It suggests you are in control of your animal nature. You're now operating in your divinity. If not in your divinity, at least in your humanity. That's your will center. We get fear there. We get gut feelings there that show up at the physical level. As one of our participants suggested, it does show up in the spirit level as well. But it also shows up at the physical level, particularly if we're talking about chakras. Some of you already know these chakras are like vortexes, are like spinning wheels. So they should be spinning in the proper direction. They should be unblocked. They should be unclogged. And that's where our will, our need for certain things, our need to pacify and feed certain things, our gut desires, our personal desires. And then the fourth chakra is where we get into that tricky area. I see the questions. Thank you, Kiona. Y'all be patient with me for just a second. Let me get through these 7 chakras. Your heart chakra, love. The first love is of your mother, your father, your family, how you grew up, how you experienced and taught and envisioned and demonstrated love from the time of conception up until we get introduced to romantic love, the love of items, the love of music, the love of other things. So the fourth chakra is a complex chakra for many people, particularly if there's blockages there that go back to childhood or past. One way of looking at chakras is sort of vertically, but another way is looking is forward into the future and backward into the past. Your fifth chakra is where we speak our existence, create our existence, create and recreate our reality, speak our truth, even if you're attempting to mask. Supreme Divinity, thank you so much, but please, I don't know where the donations through YouTube go. I really don't. I've been doing this all year. No, I've been doing this a year now. A year and a month now. I have no idea where that money goes. I would prefer you follow the link that Kiona put in the chat for my PayPal. But thank you, Supreme Divinity. Thank you kindly. So your fifth chakra is where you speak what you believe, even if you're attempting to mask your fear or what you believe. or what your ultimate goal is. But that resonates at that fifth chakra. The sixth chakra, we call that the third eye. There's a pyramid there, and it allows us to see beyond the physical. It allows us to see beyond what we can see, what we can hear in the moment. It gives us vision into the past, the present, and the future, beyond physical space. And of course, seven, they call that the crown, your head, your consciousness. In Yoruba, that might be the beginning, the doorway into Ori. So these things have to be acknowledged. You can't just choose, I'm just going to focus on my fifth chakra. You can, in terms of doing the homework, addressing the block, addressing what you're dealing with in that moment. Maybe you have to give a speech. Maybe you have to teach a class. Maybe you have to perform, a play, an actor. So yeah, you're going to focus energy, blue energy, conscious energy at the throat chakra. But you can't then ignore the other chakras and expect to be operating in balance. So you'll then manifest imbalance through your chakras. Listen, this is before spirit. This is before jinn. This is before demons get involved. This is before the show topic. Just at chakras. I'm talking about what's safe to do. So just at chakras, if we're not consciously doing that work while we operate with our stones, then we will experience blockages. I'm going to look at my questions now. Supreme Divinity, I see your question, but give me a minute to scroll up because my questions keep scrolling on me. And I don't really want to address them out of order if I can help it. Thank you, Kiona. The topic is the nature of spirit, ... and spirits, because we also need to cover spirits. High Priestess, Empress April. Yeah, whose spirit and what spirit is absolutely necessary. Even if you view the Bible as a magical book, it tells you to test the spirit, know its origin, know where it comes from. Is it really God responding to you? Or is it a jinn? Is it an ancestor? Is it a disembodied force? And so the church or Islam or Judaism, many world religions teaches you to focus on one thing, one religion, one way of seeing and viewing that religion, one way of seeing and viewing that God, to the exclusion of anything else. So even in the so-called sanctified church, your holiness church, we calling on Jesus, but people speaking in tongues and falling out and slobbering and doing backflips over pews. It's other spirits in that space. And in many cases, those spirits are not being interpreted. And that magical book called the Bible says you're supposed to interpret tongues. Yeah. You're supposed to interpret spirits. So New Age, Voodoo, Ifa is no different. You have to be able to interpret spirit. Even when your child comes to you with a little story, and you hear the story, but you know there's some truth behind the story. They done broke something, they done lost something, somebody done did something bad, and they don't want to just come out to the point. They're gonna beat around the bush. They're gonna tell you, a little story, and a mother or father, a good mother, a good father, an in tune parent is going to be able to be in tune with the spirit of their child, in the spirit of that moment. And so when your child is not being authentic, is not telling you the truth, it's operating from a different energy. And as adults, I'm assuming everybody in this audience is an adult, we quickly forget that. We quickly lose sight of that when we're trying to interpret. I'm standing outside the Walgreens. Hey, ma'am, my car has been broke down, and my wife is pregnant, and she on the other side of the river, and I got to get back to the house. Can you buy me some gas? Some of you instinctively know whether your request is true or not. Some of you don't care if the request is true or not. I know people who just give money, you know, because that's what they do. They either do it in the name of Jesus, or they do it, you know, and don't care if it's going to be used for drugs or for liquor or for whatever. But we all, right, but we all, and you need to speak up louder when you speak. And we all, so that you can be heard.
Pimping and prostitution, I said.
Yeah. So we all are put in a position to have to test spirit every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Supreme Divinity, just send me an email, beloved. Send me an email at DivinePrince at houseofthedivineprince.com. And that's divine, DIVINE, Prince, PRINCE, at houseofthedivineprince.com. Now, if you're asking me more literally, you're going to send me an email request. I'm going to ask you to commit to a divination, a ritual, ceremonial, initiatory divination. Then from there, that's going to tell me who you are, what lineage you're operating in, what powers and spirits are around you and need to be addressed and looked at, and at some point possibly crowned on your head or married in a voodoo ceremony with a spirit or a deity. We're going to look at your ancestors along with your head, and then we'll move you forward. But that's the literal answer to what you said. The figurative answer to your question, beloved divinity, is to send me a private email at DivinePrince at houseofthedivineprince.com in order to get under mentorship. And you may have a different idea about what type of mentorship you want and you're looking for. Express that in the email. The more specific you all are in your email, the easier, the quicker I can move forward in your response. Unclear requests get my general response. It tells you basic format of my most common divinatory processes, services available, how to operate in them, and then how to send the appropriate donation for them. So if there's more, just include that in your email, and I'll be glad to respond. I'm trying to hit all of my questions. Kayla asked, does fasting enhance our ability to connect to and communicate with the spirit realm? It absolutely does. It absolutely does.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
That was my Blog Talk Radio show ending, but YouTube will continue. And of course, you could always go back and listen to the Blog Talk Radio show in archive at your leisure and convenience. Now, the fasting question. First, I want you all to, right now, everyone listening, breathe. And when you exhale the third time, because I want you to breathe in and breathe out 3 times, I want you to use your imagination and exhale anything you think you know or might know or have been told about the church, the Bible, and fasting. So I want you to, and I want you to do that 3 times and use your imagination. Use your imagination, if you're not spiritually vibrating there yet, to, just for a moment, forget you know anything about the church, anything you know, you were told about the church, the Bible, fasting, because I want to teach you, introduce fasting to you now from a very different perspective. Okay, now fasting. Fasting is done in India, you know, it's done in Africa, it's done in China, it was done in the indigenous world, it's done in all indigenous world cultures and traditions. And it's an act of taking supremacy over your 7 chakras. First chakra, that need to eat. It's anyone who's ever tried to take a diet, who's ever tried to gain weight, lose weight, eat a prescribed menu to gain muscle and or what have you, then you know you've been in a predicament where you only had to eat certain things and not other things.
Chicken,
Similar to
turkey,
fasting. Right, similar to fasting.
lean meats.
So you know that there's a challenge there, a challenge period that has to be surpassed, where you're just eating out of habit or out of emotion or out of a desire or a taste for that chocolate or for that daily cup of coffee you're used to having that's now not fitting into a particular diet. So I'm trying to describe sort of what you experience with fasting. So first, you've got to get beyond your body's natural addictions. You might be addicted to sugar. You might be addicted to fat.
So
You might be addicted to salt, carbohydrates. So first, your body has to get beyond that. And you learn to ignore the hints, the shouts, the pushes and the shoves that your body gives you to pick up that cigarette, to pick up that drug, to eat that food that you're trying to now fast from. So fasting is first superiority over your first chakra, survival. Second and third chakra, will and your ability to act on will.
Yeah.
Your fourth chakra, love, inner love, personal love, worldly love, all because we know love is many things, not just love and relationships.
Yeah.
There's a level of fasting that also requires the fifth chakra. Even that magical book they call the Bible says that you don't stand on the corner and proselytize and announce to everybody that I'm fasting. That takes away the spiritual purpose of why you fasting.
Yeah.
You don't fast so that you tell other people you fast. You don't fast so that other people see you fasting.
Yeah.
You fast because you are in a sacred space. You are creating a sacred space in your body and around you and in your life in order to allow higher vibratory energy to enter. Some of us don't require as much fasting as others. Some of us can fast and maybe sip water, and that works well. Some of you cannot fast unless it's very personalized because you got diabetes or you're taking medication or you have some other system, some other rhythm your body is already in. So I'm not giving out general information for everybody to fast. Make sure you're healthy enough to fast. Talk to your doctor, talk to your mentor. Make sure you're covering every base. Because there's another type of fasting, which often I do, unfortunately, which is starvation. Sometimes I'm so busy, so caught up in spirit. I tell Nylan all the time, I'm floating in the air, I'm traveling in the cosmos, and over time, I become disconnected from my body. And people who live with me, people who've initiated with me, people who've been in my house, have seen me sewing 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day, trying to make carnival, have seen me. I forget it. Some of you have that ability. I don't even think about eating. Somebody has to remind me, did you eat? People ask me, well, what did you eat today? I can't even remember. I have to really struggle. And that's not good, but it comes from decades of me operating in the spirit, often by myself, often up against a clock, dealing with the schedule, wanting to respond to requests in a timely manner. And so that's another form of fasting. It's not a good form, but it's another form of fasting. So, yes, fasting can be used, a controlled, a well organized um, fast, structured fast can indeed help with the ability to connect and communicate with not just spirit and spirit realm, but also your ancestors and even alien life forms. I've fasted and had aliens. It only happened once. I've had aliens attempt to make contact with me. And it was very scary for me in that moment. Didn't expect it. It came out of the blue. When I realized what was happening, I was out of there. That connection was broken. So fasting can be very powerful in bringing balance, in connecting with spirit, in getting in tune and in touch with your body and the spirits that we all carry within our body and have access to within our own bodies. So yes, fasting is a very important and powerful tool. High Priestess, I'm going to respond to you even though you didn't type your question in all capital letters. That's why Kiona put question marks under your statement so that I could see it. And she says, I guess I want to know is that if, I guess what I want to know is that if Black people spiritually is being used as a mean for profit and capitalized on by psychics. Let me think about your question for a minute. I'm gonna respond. Let me think about that. It's your wording, it's your grammar. It's got to work its way through the computer in my mind, and then I'm gonna reinterpret your question in my mind, and then I'm gonna respond. I believe what you're saying is, do I accept that psychics, telepaths, mentalists can use the mind content of Black people against our will, without our permission, without our active involvement and participation? Yes. Yeah. If you understand what the Akashic records are, which means that everything that we all know is common knowledge to the universe. Now, it doesn't mean you need to wear a hat with aluminum foil in it. I'm not suggesting that. People can't just go in and out of your mind for play. Against your will is, I don't like those words. Those are English words with a whole lot of, because I can access information that you might be concealing from me in a reading if it's important. You've already given me permission to read. This is a scenario. If I were reading and you say I'm here for my love and relationships, but your ancestors are on the board. And this is why I don't suggest general readings. Anyone who's ever come to me with the general reading request, I say that you're taking a risk, because that which is most pertinent, most important, your guides, God, destiny, and your ancestors are going to stand up and speak to that. So you come to me about love and relationships, about your boyfriend, your girlfriend, but you're on your way to jail, but you're not telling me. Spirit will reveal that to me. So you might say that's not entirely within my will. I didn't come here to talk about that or to tell you that. And it may not be my place to even mention it in the reading. But God, Orun, Orula, the spirits of divination are going to tell me what I need to know in order to help you if you're coming to me asking for that help. Now, the idea, going back to your question, that maybe this information is just free form, it's in the cloud. Can they then pull down access to that information? To some degree, yes, if it's relevant, if it's pertinent, to some degree, yes, High Priestess, it can indeed be accessed. Thank you kindly, Yaya Coconut. Divine, all blessed love and peace and joy and prosperity to you and yours. Thank you so much for your comment. Nikki Walker is asking if a medical event, i.e. a stroke, is unexplainable or unable to find the source medically. Is that, or can that be a dark black magic spiritual attack or spirit attack? Nikki, it can. It can. It will require energy. It will require energy. Now, let me give you an example. And I have to be careful about how I say this. Okay. If you're an enemy, sworn enemy, known enemy, you've done harm to me, you've done harm to my family, you violated, I mean violated. I don't mean friend of me. I mean somebody that's violated. And there's anger and there's energy from me and that person, from both sides. And let's say I'm confronted by that person suddenly, unexpectedly. I'm walking the street at night and I turn down an alley thinking I'm about to go in the back of my building, and they're there. That energy can then be harnessed, and I can grip your heart and cause a stroke or cause a heart attack if the appropriate energy is there. The idea of cursing or doing harm, doing that to someone who's undeserving, who hasn't given you any evil or negative or dark energy, that's not real. Now, you can't harm me if I'm untouchable. You can't harm me if I'm righteous. You can't harm me if I'm holding down the appropriate position. In spirit protocol, in spirit law, then I'm untouchable. And even more so if I'm consciously projecting a protective shield to prevent your attack. But if I'm deserving of the attack, unprepared for the attack, not prayed up, not ritualed up, haven't covered my ass proverbially, spiritually, then I would be at risk for that type of activity. Yeah, that can be done. Someone can operate in black magic, witchcraft, and maybe not have the capability forgive me, might not have the capability to directly cause that specific event. But they can use the evil eye, they can use dark magic to create enough dark matter around you for slips, falls, accidents, car accidents, which is very complicated because it now will require every participant to be slipping somewhere. And a slip could be as easy as I left my house and made a left turn when I normally make a right turn. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're in a hurry and you're late and you're rushed. Be careful. That's the opportunity for those moments to come in. When I lived in a city with L's and subways and you come down the tunnel and you just missed the train and you got to make your appointment, that used to bother me. Oh man, I done missed my train. Damn, until I learned that might have been the train with the stalker on it. That might have been the train with the murderer on it. That might have been the train that the robber is now on it, robbing everybody on that train. Unless you're operating in spirit, you don't know what is before you or behind you or to the left of you or to the right of you. So the person who's not knowledgeable, who's operating, I'm a random person. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in spirit. I don't believe in voodoo. I don't believe in root work. I don't, all of that is mumbo jumbo. Can I then work magic, work dark magic, work black magic, work a root to cause harm to that person? If that person is deserving, absolutely. And with great ease. And with great ease. Believe something. I don't care what you believe something. Commit to something. And I'm not talking to you specifically, Nikki. I'm talking in general now. Believe something. Adhere to something. Because if you don't, it will adhere to you. Yeah. A man without a plan is always subject to someone else's plan. So if you're spiritually not conscious, then yes, you're much more susceptible, much more open to. And then number two, if you are operating your life in a way that people will want to harm you, that you're creating enemies, that you're creating dark matter, that then increases the ability for someone trained and well-versed to use that energy against you. I would always, in a medical event, seek medical advice. So, and you suggest in your question, Nikki, that it's already been looked at, tested for, labs been done. There's no reason, there's no explanation. And the only other earthly explanation I would give you would be stress. Stress might not necessarily be detectable, might not necessarily show up in the lab. So it's definitely about energy and spirit. When we are experiencing that level of physical manifestation without explanation, without some footprint that would suggest, okay, she had hypertensive, she had diabetes, she was under enough stress that led to this event. I'm going to assume that it's out of the left, out of the blue, without reason, just based on your question. So I pray that I answered your question. If I didn't, just hit me back in the chat. Let me check my Blog Talk Radio real quick. Yes, please visit my Blog Talk Radio show. I only had it set for 30 minutes today, so you can go back and listen to it in archive. But we'll always use both the radio and YouTube Live at the same time to allow for greater interaction here in the show. My next question, am I missing anything? Let's see. Am I missing anything here? Questions? Okay, Nikki Walker, yes, she's under medical care. Yes. Okay, yes. Yes, so let me speak to you differently now that you've said that. Be prayerful. Be meditative. Work with your crystals or your one strongest crystal. You know, you don't want to bring your whole shrine into your altar, into your medical space. But it is scientifically documented that prayerful people, spiritual people, positive people have a greater degree of healing. It's medically documented. So believe. Invite the interference of your ancestors. Use your best healing quartz crystal to bring about balance, to bring about healing. This has chloride in it. That's the green in the stone. That red or rust is hematite in the stone. And this is also a phantom, but it's very hard for me to show it to you on camera. But bring about light. Breathe and exhale darkness. Breathe and exhale what's not useful. Breathe and exhale what's not beneficial to you. And know that when you are breathing, not when you're inhaling, but when you are breathing, divine energy is entering your body. Because you got to give to receive. You got to give to get. So when you are exhaling, divine light is then coming into your body. When you are inhaling, you're sending divine light back out into the world. So focus on your breathing. I think they call that circular breathing. It's a continuous stream, but it's slowed down a little bit. And you don't want to hyperventilate, but you want to breathe deep as possible, circularly, and invite light. Just talking about it, my whole body is vibrating. Breathing like that and just talking about it, my whole body, the outer layer of my body is vibrating. And then bring light into your crystal, healing into your crystal. See yourself whole, see yourself well, see yourself active, see yourself at peace, see yourself in balance. And I'm not giving a personal reading, so I'm not going to get into your business, but exhale, get rid of whatever the problems are. Whatever the problems are. Thank you so much for your question and comments. Please, Aboru Aboye, Paul, thank you so much for being present. one of my best initiates, one of my best godchildren. Listen to me, Paul. I haven't been to the post office yet. You got to understand that Carnival is going on. So I'll be able to go today and tomorrow because there's no parades rolling. But previous to today and the days following, going up to Mardi Gras, it literally cuts off the city. I cannot cross Canal Street and certain parts going into Uptown where I need to go when these Bacchus and Oshun and all these parades are rolling for Mardi Gras. And the parades are bigger this year than ever before. So you're with me. I'm conscious of it. You know what I'm talking about because I don't want to say it and have people's energy attached to it. It's on its way. Just know it's on its way. And thank you so much for being here live with us, Paul Cologne, in the YouTube live chat. Yeah, Mardi Gras is off the chain this year. It's Carnival is off the chain. If you ain't here, shame on you. And if you got time to get here, find your way. But by all means, please don't travel from other states and other cities and other towns and other zip codes and show up at my door. I am not going to be able to give you an appointment like that. My schedule is overwhelming. Nylan the Traituer, his schedule is overwhelming. And when we're not doing Voodoo, we're filming. And Regina King don't play. So you can't just show up. It's just not going to happen. You can't send me an email and say, hey, I'm in town for 24 hours. I'm going to send you an urgent care request. That's an urgent care request. Now, if you're willing to pay for an urgent care request, I'll be more than happy to put down the sewing needle for Mardi Gras. We'll be very happy to maneuver our filming schedule to make sure I can hug your neck and touch your forehead and grab your hand and connect with you in spirit. But you cannot just show up at all hours of the day and night. You just can't. It's just not.
It's unrealistic.
Yeah, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
I'm not being shady. It's not realistic. I'm not a Jackson Square reader. You got, forgive my French, because some of y'all know when I get quiet and hesitant, I'm trying to find my words. I'm being diplomatic. But you got all manner of crackheads and meth heads and whatnot that's waiting on you in the French Quarter, Jackson Square, 24 hours a day, sitting on their little crate or whatever with their card table ready to read you. I can't do that. I run an active voodoo temple. Most of my house is voodoo temple, carnival, maroon, Indian gallery, recording studio, very little living space, very little entertainment space, very little sit and wait space. Yeah. So even as you come in groups, I would prefer you come during the day, pre-scheduled, so that you can have coffee, have chai tea, have lox and bagel at Treme Coffee House at North Villeray and St. Philip, just right behind my house, so to speak. That's sort of my day room when my clients are waiting to get in to an appointment, is at Treme Coffee House. Yeah. My contact information is there on the wall at Treme Coffee House, how to contact me by email and make an appointment so that people are prepared before they show up at my door. Please hit me with your questions, comments, and requests in all capitals here in the live chat. Otherwise, we'll be moving on shortly. I'll give you a few more minutes. It is now 1:11.
Hey, come on, how you doing? You said your family is related to Traituer.
Traituer was a African in Boston, I believe it was, when the whole Salem witch thing came about. Ain't that right, beloved? Tell him.
Is that correct?
Type that in. Tell him.
Is that who you related to, Kenmore? I see you typing in my chat here on Facebook Live.
Supreme Divinity. I don't want to say no about the payment plans, but it's risky. It requires me to keep up with it, sometimes over long periods of time, depending on how quickly you would move forward. Secondly, I wouldn't be able to start any of the work until you finished it. So I'm not going to tell you no, but generally speaking, I don't offer it. I'll accept it, but you got to be on it if you're committed to it. You can't let it go for months and years. I've had some clients let it go for years, all the while sort of expecting to get from me. And the reality is I can't break protocol. So until you provide the appropriate donation, appropriate offering, I wouldn't be able to start your services. So you can but I don't suggest it. I would prefer you save it. You payment plan yourself, and then when you're ready, submit that to me.
And K1, I hear your reply, and I see your reply. I'm probably going to send you a message at the end of this of our show here, and I'll make sure you get the contact information for the DivinePrince, and we'll stay connected.
Thank you so much for your comment, Kiona. Respect the Voodoo girlfriend. Respect the Voodoo.
Thank you for the comment also.
Voodoo worldwide. It's the Voodoo.
Kiona.
It's the Voodoo, honey. It's the Voodoo. Do you all have any other questions or comments for me? The room is full. There are many teachers in America with a room this full at many schools and universities. So hit me with your questions. Type in those questions, those comments,
Related to spirit,
those reads, those little snappy little things that y'all are saying behind my back. Speak it now to my face. Come on now. Questions, comments, requests in all capital letters in chat. We'll be more than happy to respond to you right now. Did she have any other questions or comments?
No, there was no other questions.
Beloved, who's related to Tituba?
Yeah, Tituba. He was saying, I just gave him the information. I'm going to send him an actual message at the end of this show. We'll see what he needs. He was saying that they didn't have. There's no one in the Philadelphia area that's able to work with him concerning the traditions that his family comes from. And he wants to get more information about that. So
yeah, we'll be more than happy to not only work with you, but personalize.
Oh yes, I remember you from Denver. Yeah.
My boot. Hold on. My YouTube live. We're doing 2 YouTube live at the same time. So my page is youtube.com/Voodoo Ty. V like Victor, OO, D like David, OO, TYE. And Nylan's YouTube page is youtube.com/
I think it's still Joshua Tanner JT at the moment, but you can look up Nylan the Traituer, which is TRAITEUR, or just put in Nylan, and I'm pretty sure I'm the only Nylan that you'll see. You'll see a picture of me with a Native American headdress on, my wild man from my suit, my first suit, masking Mardi Gras Indian for the Black Hawk Voodoo tribe. You'll see that, and or a picture of me in gold. I pose as Oscar, and for the Essence, I pose as Oscar and Ptah, the god, Egyptian god Ptah, many different times. And actually I have another project that I've been working on recently that I actually was painted gold for too, also that's coming out in 2020. So stay tuned. There's a lot of things that we're doing and working on actively now, even while we're talking to you right now. So this is an ongoing thing. And also to you, K1. Yeah, I remember you from Denver. I ran into this gentleman in Denver, like haphazardly, crossing from terminal. I wasn't even in Denver for long, and he saw me and was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And we talked and exchanged, and he's been following me since then. Good to see you, man, and definitely we're gonna send you a message and get you closer to where you
where you want to be.
where you want to be
Yeah.
spiritually. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Just send me an email. Is that right for your YouTube? I don't know about that.
No, that's not correct.
Kiana, don't do Nylan's YouTube until I text it to you or send it to you or pop it in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't have it up in front of me right now. If you give me a moment, I'll try and see if I can pull it up.
Joshua Tanner. But
yeah, and then I'll pop it in the chat, and then you can copy and paste that. But that's not it.
Yes, that's correct. K1, it's youtube.com/Voodoo Ty. Voodoo Ty is VOODOOTYE.
And thank you all for your questions, your comments, and requests. Please type your questions in all capital letters. I have no fear of questions. I have no fear of comments. There's too many people in this room for y'all not to have any questions or comments. I got some frenemies and some haters watching who got questions and comments. Let's hear it. This is your opportunity. Come on now. Yes. Joshua's YouTube is YouTube. Nylan's YouTube, but your name is in it. So, I mean.
Yeah, it's in there. It's Joshua Tanner. Joshua Tanner JT. I didn't get a chance to change that as of yet, but that is actually my original YouTube name. But it's coming into the chat so you guys can see that. I'm not live right now on YouTube, but I'm live on Facebook. But these will be uploaded to my channel. It's being recorded now. So
thank you so much, Yaya Coconut. I certainly do appreciate you and your love and bringing the Iyami to the chat. Thank you so kindly. We certainly appreciate you. Supreme Divinity is asking about your hat.
My hat? My hat is it's a hat that I purchased in Vegas. So it's a traditional hat, cowboy hat, but it's styled by someone that it's Connor hats. They native from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken, or Colorado, one of those two, and they're based in the United States. But this is this style's from the 90s, so it's not it's more vintage than current present day.
Thank you kindly, Paul Cologne. Thank you kindly, and we certainly appreciate it. Right now, the schedule is overwhelming. My sewing is in competition with filming with Regina King. It's also in competition with many of the other projects, as Nylan just mentioned, that we're facing right now. So I certainly appreciate your love, your support, your comments, the donations. Masking Carnival is extremely expensive. Plumes and feathers are extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So we certainly do appreciate that, Paul. And from anyone else who's listening, who supports us and has supported us in the past and in the future, we certainly do appreciate you. I'm going to move forward unless there are any questions and or comments. We will be forward again soon. We certainly do appreciate each and every one of you and your participation to this very powerful edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Until next time, remembering that all is truly and indeed a blessing. Ashe.
Ashe.